A wealthy 22-year-old, Eva, paralyzed from a past accident and emotionally abandoned by her CEO father, meets Daniel, a kind carpenter and widowed single dad, and his perceptive daughter Lily in a bakery on her lonely birthday. Their chance connection grows into real love and chosen family. Eva's father tries to sever the relationship through intimidation, prompting a heartbreaking split. But love pushes back. Eva chooses Daniel and Lily publicly, confronting her father's fear. He softens, learns presence over control, and their lives weave together. A year later, Eva and Daniel marry at the bakery, build a blended family, and welcome a baby boy. Healing arrives through courage, vulnerability, and everyday commitment. The bell over the door barely makes a sound, just a silver hush in a room that smells like butter and vanilla. Afternoon light filters through lace, breaking into squares on the tile. At the back table sits a white cake and a young woman who hasn't moved in a while, hands folded, shoulders composed like a photograph. 22 candles plant tiny flags of flame, wavering unclaimed. He notices her because his daughter does. The girl stops mid-hop, gift box clutched to her chest, eyes widening the way kids spot puppies and sadness with the same certainty. "Daddy," she whispers and points. He follows her gaze. The woman in the wheelchair has the posture of someone who knows how not to be looked at. The chair is sleek, graphite, and chrome. The dress is careful. Her gaze is elsewhere, fixed on some middle distance only she can see. "Can we sit?" his daughter asks, already moving. He touches her shoulder, a soft break. "We'll ask." He crosses the room the way he approaches a fragile tabletop, deliberate, respectful, sure of his hands. "Hi," he says. "I'm Daniel. This is Lily. Would it be all right if we join you?" The woman blinks, surprised, like he's nudged a snow globe and stirred whatever had settled at the bottom. The corner of her mouth considers smiling. "You don't want this table," she says. "It's occupied." "By who?" Lily asks, peering around as if a party might be hiding under the frosting. "By a birthday," the woman answers. Lily's face brightens so fast the room gets warmer. "Then we brought the right thing." She sets down the box and opens it with great ceremony. A cupcake, a star candle jammed slightly crooked, sprinkles a tempting constellation. "We made it," she announces. "Well, I put on too many sprinkles and Daddy said there is no such thing." The woman's throat works. "You made it." "On my mommy's birthday," Lily replies. "We always do." Her voice doesn't carry tragedy, it carries fact, like the weather. "We celebrate here so she can find us. Do you want to share?" There's a small sound from the woman, like a hinge that hasn't opened in years, trying again. Daniel pulls a chair. He waits until she nods. He sits. They lower their voices to match the room's gentleness. "What's your name?" Lily asks, feet swinging. "Eva," she says, quietly, as if saying it might call someone she isn't ready to meet. "Happy birthday, Eva," Daniel says. No flourish. No pity. He reaches for the matches and looks to her. "May I?" She nods. Flames bloom one by one until the cake looks like a tiny settlement scene from very far away. Lily hums the tune before she starts to sing, a little off, bright with conviction. People glance up, smile, then kindly look away. Eva closes her eyes on the first note. She doesn't make a wish. Not right away. She breathes. She listens to this child, to this man, to the small choir of a bakery living its life. When she does wish, it isn't complicated. It's a door cracked open. It's a chair with a place saved. She opens her eyes. "Sit," she says, and the word is equal parts permission and prayer. They start collecting ordinary, and ordinary starts collecting them back. The park the next week, where Lily names every duck as if she's their registrar. A coffee shop that mishears Eva's name as Ava and never quite fixes it. The workshop that smells like sawdust and rain and has a stool worn to the shape of Daniel's patience. What Daniel learns first is cadence. Eva's sentences arrive like carefully wrapped parcels. She doesn't waste extras. When she laughs, the laugh escapes like a bird that lived under her ribs and forgot the exit route. He learns to wait for it, to make room without crowding the door. What Eva learns first is hands. Daniel has a handful of rings of pale scars, crescent moons earned from chisels and stubborn wood. He teaches Lily to sand with the grain, to listen for the pitch that means the tool is happy. When he adjusts a chair in a cafe so her wheels slide easy, he doesn't narrate the kindness. He just does it, as if hospitality has nothing to do with grand gestures and everything to do with angles. They trade stories like bread. He speaks of Sarah in present tense habits that still wander the house. She left notes inside books, he says. Recipes in the margins of novels. He doesn't dramatize. The grief sits in the room like a third adult, polite, unremarkable, impossible to ignore. Lily, overhearing, supplies the missing laughter on cue, lugging them both into a paper crown game where Eva becomes queen of wild ducks and Daniel is knight of glue. It takes time for Eva to name the accident out loud. When she does, it's geography, an intersection, a red light, the blunt migration of metal into bone. Later, softer, she narrates the other injury. The hospital room where deals were made about her life in a voice she'd heard on earnings calls. The house outfitted like a catalog of compassion, with staff who folded her shirts in perfect rectangles and stepped around her loneliness like it was an heirloom vase. Did anyone ask what you wanted? Daniel asks. Only if it came in a box, she says, and then looks like she's said too much. Lily crawls into her lap without permission, as children do with people they've picked, and Eva's spine unspools an inch. They create rituals. A weekly bakery booth, permanently sticky. A 3-question check-in Lily invents. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you happy? Eva answers honestly, because the rules require it. Sometimes the last answer is no. On those days, Daniel introduces a new skill: how to sit with someone else's storm without narrating the weather. She notices the things he doesn't buy: new boots, the nicer drill. She sees the math he's done in his head and the way he refuses to let it edit how generous he is with everything that actually matters. He notices the way she watches doorways and decides to be the first one through when the thresholds look unfriendly. They're not a couple. There's no declaration. But there is a long glance in a window that catches 3 people reflected like a unit, and an intake of breath that sounds suspiciously like yes. Sometimes I forget, Eva says one evening, coffee cooling. I forget I'm allowed to want. Then remind me to remind you, Daniel says. Deal, Lily says, solemn as a judge. It's on the list. The study looks like it was built to intimidate light. Screens pour numbers. The leather chairs are the color of warnings. Eva rolls in and keeps rolling until the wheels touch the desk. Her father doesn't look up right away, which is an answer all by itself. I've seen the reports, Richard says finally, sliding a folder without fingerprints across the desk. Photos. Park benches. A child's yellow dress. Daniel's face with a grain of sawdust-frozen midair, as if even dust can be arrested. You hired someone to follow me, Eva says, measuring her voice. This is a negotiation. She knows the dance. I protected you, he corrects. That man is inappropriate company. He is not our world. Her world. The phrasing snaps something inside her like a dry twig. Our world never saved me, she says. People did. One person and one small person. He stands. Height as argument. He wants something. They all do. Sometimes people want you, Eva says. Not the dividend. His mouth tightens. He has other faces. He chooses this one because it has worked on directors and sharks. You will stop seeing him. Or I stop him. Legally. Publicly. Permanently. He lists levers like a menu. She knows he can pull them. She knows exactly how reputations splinter. For a second she sees Lily's eyes, wet and bewildered, and Daniel's hands emptied of work by a smear that isn't true. The text she sends that night is a blade she turns on herself. She writes what she must to keep them safe from the machine with her last name stamped on it. I can't see you anymore. Please don't contact me. I'm sorry. He doesn't answer. The phone stares back all night. The next day, the workshop is too quiet. Lily draws 2 stick figures and a wheelchair, and then puts the drawing face down like a secret that hurts. On the 4th day, Lily asks if they weren't enough. Daniel buckles her into the truck without saying the word no because it won't fit in his throat. He drives. The neighborhood changes from porches to gates. The gate says no even before the guard does. I'm sorry, sir. You're not on the list. We're not groceries, Lily mutters and sticks her face through the bars. Miss Eva, she yells, as if the house might answer. Miss Eva, please. The wind carries a small person's plea. Inside, in a room that smells like money and lemon polish, a woman hears it and stops breathing. She moves. Not the way she's moved in months, but with urgency that makes hallways shorter. The service elevator doesn't announce her. Maria tilts her head, listens once, opens the door, and whispers a blessing old enough to be a spell. Rain finds the street. The city feels rinsed or rebuked. Eva's wheels spin and slip and spin again. Her hands ache. She is not fast. She is relentless. She turns the bakery bell with a trembling palm and sees what the universe, in its theatrical streak, has staged. The same table, the same man, the same child, quieter, smaller, waiting. Lily rockets into her like joy fueled by relief. Daniel takes off his jacket and wraps her shoulders, hands gentle, questions softer. You're freezing, he says. Why are you here? Because I can't not be, Eva says. Because I am done being managed. I choose us. The door slams open behind her like a verdict. Richard fills doorways by habit. Tonight the rain has untidied him. He looks less like a headline and more like a man who has run out of script. His gaze lands first on the chair, then on the man at her shoulder, then on the child standing like a fence post in front of someone she has adopted. Eva, he says, voice carved from authority. Come home. She doesn't turn. I am home, she answers. Lily puts both hands on her hips, a stance she has learned from cartoons and courage. You're being mean, she announces without ceremony, as if reading a label. Richard blinks. Children don't bounce off his life very often. I am protecting my daughter, he replies, defaulting to the only justification he understands. Lily thinks for a second, the way kids do when they're adjusting the shape of truth with words they've tried on in quieter rooms. No, she says. You're protecting you from sad. She gestures to Daniel without looking away. My daddy is sad a lot. He still stays. The sentence hangs in the air, bare and perfect. The bakery hums around them. Someone in the corner pretends not to watch. The owner polishes a cup he has already cleaned. For the first time in longer than he can measure, Richard looks rather than assesses. He sees the rain in Eva's hair, the set of her jaw that belongs to her mother, the way the man beside her kneels to match her eye line and not to kneel for him. He sees the tiny protector whose shoes light up and whose words have put a crack right where his armor is thinnest. Dad, Eva says, finally turning. One syllable slams him harder than any analyst call ever did. When the car stopped being a car and started being a cage, I needed a hand, not a budget. You built me a palace and left me in it. He sits. It looks involuntary, like gravity remembered him. He is 60, and for a second you can see every year. I didn't know how, he says, and the honesty of those 4 words is a new language in his mouth. Daniel speaks without standing, without inserting himself between. He lets his voice come from low and steady. It's not too late to learn, he says. It's not a fix. It's presence. It's not dramatic. It's boring sometimes. It's sandwiches and waiting rooms. Richard winces because the picture is so small and because it sounds like a task he can finally understand. I have missed so much, he says, staring not at the floor but at his hands, as if they could have done different things. Then stop missing it, Eva says. Start missing meetings, maybe. A laugh catches the corner of Daniel's mouth. Lily relaxes a millimeter and adjusts her stance from guard dog to girl again. Richard looks up. If I say I am sorry, he asks, will it matter? Eva closes the space between her chair and his knees. She takes his hand and places it on her arm, as if reminding him of how contact works. Yes, she says. If you stay for the work that comes after. In the window, the storm shifts to a steady fall. Inside, the room learns how to breathe at a new pace. The owner of the bakery, who has never officiated anything but pastries, clears his throat. We have hot chocolate, he says. That might help. 2, Eva says. 3, Lily corrects and adds, and a napkin. They sit together at the table that started everything. No one pretends this is easy. Richard's apology doesn't arrive as a speech, it arrives as a series of small sentences that don't try to be anything else. "When your mother died, I worked harder," he says. "It was the only tool I had." He glances at Daniel's hands, then back at his own. "I mistook control for care." "Me too," Daniel admits, surprising himself. "I tell Lily what tool to use when she'd learn better by splintering something cheap. Being needed feels like love until you realize it can be a disguise." He looks at Eva. "I don't want to rescue you. I want to walk with you." "Roll," Lily corrects, then yawns, then leans into Eva as if to prove the thesis of chosen family with weight. Eva turns toward her father. "I love him," she says. No careful caveats. "I love Lily. I love the life we've been building in afternoons and park benches and quiet kitchens. If being your daughter means I have to choose between that and your comfort, I won't choose your comfort." There it is. The floor doesn't open. No thunderclap arrives. The bakery keeps being a bakery. A couple laughs at a booth. The barista knocks a spoon against a ceramic lip. The ordinary world makes room for extraordinary sentences like it was designed to. Richard nods once, as if finalizing a deal with the only counterparty who matters. Then the terms change, he says, trying on language that feels less like control and more like consent. "I will try to be present. I will fail. I will try again." He looks at Daniel. "Teach me how to make something that doesn't run on profit. My hands need to learn." Daniel extends his palm. It's an unremarkable handshake, rough skin to softened skin. It's also a treaty. "Start with sanding," he says. "It's mostly patience." The bakery owner appears with hot chocolates and a slice of cake because he understands ritual. He sets an extra fork on the table like a benediction. "No one eats cake alone," he says. "House policy." Eva takes the fork and cuts through frosting that tastes like beginning. She feeds Lily a bite first, because that's how this works now, then nudges the plate toward her father. He hesitates, then eats. His eyes brim. He doesn't hide it. Watching them, Daniel feels a pressure behind his ribs shift into something like relief. He meets Eva's gaze. There's no triumph there, only a steady, quiet joy that looks suspiciously like a life-taking root. "Tomorrow," Richard says after a minute, voice rough. "I can come by the shop?" "Workshop," Daniel says. "Workshop," Richard repeats, and the word doesn't poison him. "I can hold sandpaper. I can start there." "You can start here," Eva says, tapping the table twice like a drum. "Then there." "Here," Lily echoes, tapping too. "Then there." The rain lightens to mist. Outside, the street holds puddles that catch the bakery's sign in shimmering pieces. Inside, a family tries its first dry run at being one. A year later, the bakery strings ribbon between ceiling beams like a line of quiet flags. The aisle is wider than tradition. It fits the chair beautifully. Lily, in yellow, throws petals like confetti and rules. Daniel waits where the pastry case once hit his nerves. Richard stands beside Eva at the start, not leading so much as accompanying. He has adjusted many things in 12 months, his calendar, his pride, his understanding of usefulness. He has learned to count progress in different units. 10 minutes in a waiting room without checking the market. 2 hours sanding a tabletop to the sound of bluegrass and his thoughts unbothered. "You look like yourself," he tells Eva, and it lands as the best compliment he has ever managed. The owner of Sweet Memories clears his throat and, with hands that have decorated thousands of cakes, marries 2 people. The vows are simple because the rest is not. Daniel promises practical things without making them sound small. "I'll oil your wheels when the squeak is loud. I'll say, 'Do you want help?' before I touch. I'll listen when your no hides inside your yes." Eva promises things that make the room quiet. "I will not carry my father's silence into our kitchen. I will ask for what I need. I will let your grief sit at our table when it wants to visit and not treat it like an uninvited guest." Lily cheers before the kiss, because timing is a guideline. The room laughs, and the laugh becomes permission to abandon reverence in favor of joy. Someone starts a fiddle. A friend stomps time. Eva spins in her chair, and Lily schemes orbits around her like a small planet certain of its star. At the reception, Richard takes a microphone he would once have used to shape a market and uses it to say, "I was wrong," to a room full of witnesses who know how heavy those words are. He thanks the man who taught him to make dovetails, and the girl who taught him to say sorry faster, and the daughter who taught him that love is not a quarterly result. Later, under a sky that has decided to cooperate for a night, Daniel brings cake to Eva on the sidewalk. "House policy," he says, and she laughs, and they share, and nothing in the universe is solved, but so much is. He places a hand on her stomach with a gentleness that suggests he has known for days. She confirms it with a nod and a shaky inhale. "Complications," she starts, but he's already nodding. "We'll file them under together," he says. Everything else goes there too. 6 months after that, in a hospital room where machines hum like patient lullabies, they meet Samuel. Lily narrates his arrival with the authority of a big sister and a seasoned witness to miracles. Richard holds his grandson like a promise he plans to keep. Daniel and Eva, exhausted, threaded fingers and 4 lines and sighs, study the new face and see all the faces that brought him here. The work continues, because work always does. There are nights when fear returns in old clothes. Days when presence feels heavy. Appointments. Arguments. Apologies that need recalling and reoffering. But they have a map now that was drawn not with grand declarations, but with small arrows. Here, then there. Cake, then sanding. Wish, then work. On a quiet evening months later, Eva wheels to a window and watches stars that look familiar and new. She remembers a bakery table and candles and a wish that felt too simple to be answered. She smiles at the sound of Lily teaching Samuel the 3 questions. Hungry? Tired? Happy? She hears Daniel humming in the kitchen, a rhythm she knows by heart. She answers herself, softly, honestly, as the house breathes around her. Hungry sometimes. Tired often. Happy, yes. And when she picks up her son, his fingers curl around her pinky with a grip that anchors her to the moment so completely that the past and future both take a respectful step back. The garden they're growing is not neat. It is not symmetrical. It is undeniably alive.